Well, welcome back, friends. It's a beautiful Friday morning here in Brisbane, Australia, and beautiful and sunny. And today we're going to talk, just jump in, and we are going to be completely honest today and delve into what high-level leadership actually feels like behind the scenes. Because the reality is, most intentional leaders like yourself are quietly dealing with the deep, isolating pressure of making every single massive call alone. Also, the exhaustion of trying to scale a business while pretending you have it all figured out, which, let's face it, if you've been in leadership, you want to try and look your best and know what you're doing. The old fake it before you make it kind of thing is dead and gone, but we all try it at some point. And sometimes we have a fear that you have to choose between your mental well-being and your actual calling. So if you're nodding along, you are actually why we put together the Higher Deep Collective. It's the human infrastructure designed to hold you while you expand. And today we're doing a quick member spotlight to show you what happens when you stop playing solo and install the right daily rhythm and support around your vision. So I want to welcome Matthew Hodge. Welcome, Matt. I'm glad you're with me today.
Morning, Sue. How are you?
Great. So Matt is the National Partnerships Manager at SU Australia, and he has been involved in many different industries before SU. But Matt, I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about what your role is like at SU, what your leadership role is like.
Yes. So Scripture Union Australia is one of Australia's largest Christian charities, and we exist to share God's love with young people, and that's done in a variety of ways. It can involve camps in the holidays, missions where we go to, say, caravan parks and do work there. It can involve religious education instructors in schools, and a massive amount of chaplaincy in public schools as well. So sometimes it might be distinctly Christian things, and sometimes it's things where we're out in the community getting alongside young people in ways that are recognised even by people who may not share our faith background. But all of this runs off the back of volunteers and financial supporters. And so Scripture Union, up until a few years ago, was actually there are Scripture Unions all over the world. And so when Australia landed, there were different state Scripture Unions all over Australia that merged into one big Scripture Union Australia. So the challenge is there is still very much state loyalty in many of these places, how to actually raise the funds that are necessary. My role is essentially fundraising, to raise these funds or across the country, but a lot of that involves working with the different regional teams to help them connect with their supporters as well. So my role is both to look after some of the major supporters that we have across the country, while also trying to put in a strategy in place that can equip others to engage with supporters as well, because my team isn't big enough to look after the entire country, but together, if we can set a vision that we can move forward on, we can reach the financial goals that we're trying to get to.
I love that. I love the fact that it's not just a fundraising team or a partnerships team doing it all together, but that there's that cross-collaboration, co-creation, and shared responsibility to fundraise across the organisation. That's such an amazing model to be working on and to leading. To kick things off, when you look back at the day you decided to join the Higher Deep Collective, or give me a call and say, Sue, can we do some coaching? What was the primary challenge or goal you were thinking of in taking up your headspace at that moment?
So to go back in time, I have been just nearly 3 years with Scripture Union. But where I came from before that was I had been 16 years in the classical music business. And I had this feeling classical, it's not in my background. I actually studied maths and statistics. I didn't study art, but I went to work in classical music behind the scenes, not as a musician. And I worked primarily in marketing and databases. And I was there because I was interested in this idea of how do you get more people into classical music. It's something I liked. The industry is always worried about declining audiences. And over those 16 years, I worked my way up the chain into senior leadership. And I had felt like it was my calling in many ways. But not everybody agrees with that. That can be one way of seeing it, but it's not always how these things play out. But actually, the way that I finished up with classical music was I was made redundant. And so when I went to Scripture Union, part of it was just this was an open door and a way to provide for my family, but also to use the skills I had. So just a few months ago, what happened was I had the most wonderful boss. Quick shout out to a gentleman called Dave Parker, who's now over working for the Uniting Church now. But he was an amazing boss. But when he announced that he was leaving, all of a sudden, I actually realized there was an opportunity to step up a little bit, not in terms of what I was doing, into a more of a leadership directional space, and to speak into that. But what I found was, I think, knowing that I'd be now reporting directly to the CEO and realizing that the opportunity to step up, in many ways, I realized perhaps there was a little bit of unresolved trauma, if you like, from being made redundant a few years ago. And I just felt a bit anxious about it. And so rather than all of a sudden this safety buffer of a great boss who was there to sit between me and the CEO and the board and all those sorts of things, so I could be a little bit sheltered from that, was gone. And so there's both the opportunity to step up, but also my own anxiety about it. And so in that, at the same time, so you'd obviously been advertising a little bit around the traps about higher, deeper. And I was like, that's what I need. I wouldn't mind being able to have somebody to be a sounding board, both to help point out blind spots that I might not see, but also somebody who could be an encouragement that I can step into a leadership space, because I know I have many of the skills. Sometimes it's just that encouragement thing that you need. And so it came along at a time when I guess there was a little bit of anxiety about what I could do that could have been crippling in many ways. And that was the perfect time to engage.
That's so honest. Thank you, Matt. And just to dig a bit deeper into that space, if you hadn't stepped into the coaching space then, if you hadn't picked up the phone and given me a call, what do you think you would be experiencing now in that position?
Look, I possibly could have done without it, but I think what I would be doing is operating out of a space where I would be either trying to impress and overachieve and thinking more about the perception than actually doing something which is a step deeper to focus on what are the actual things I need to do the job well for the organization. It's a slight difference. One is trying to look like you're doing the good things, but it's actually about a facade, if you like. And the other is actually saying what are the important things, because that's the wrestle, isn't it? Right? Sometimes to do the most important things, you might have to say, I can't do everything you want, or we have to do this later, or you have, it's different. It's a slight difference between people pleasing, if you like, and actually doing the right thing.
That overachieving is just spinning wheels, and it's quite exhausting, and it's quite in your head, rather than actually taking steps forward to achieve the amazing mission and goals that you've got in SU to achieve. Being a leader can be incredibly isolating as well. You know, you're leading a team and you're reporting up, that kind of thing, and you've got responsibility that you have to deliver. How has having me as your sounding board and coach in your back pocket changed how you handle that kind of daily pressure or weekly pressure that around making big decisions around actually hitting your goals and targets?
I think there was a point, probably in two ways. I think
Yeah.
number one is there was a point, I think, in the first, one-to-one conversation you had where you asked a question. Just pretend you were the CEO and you were reporting, and you had a fundraising person reporting to you. What would you want to see to give you confidence that they're doing a good job? And all of a sudden, it gave me clarity on thinking about what things were the most important to do. So that then gave me strategically things that I could jump in and dive in. I now feel like I know in a given week what are the one or two most important things. But the second thing I thought was good is that despite the fact that I know what the one or two important things are, there can still be times when I'm like, oh, but this person really wants this, or oh, my team member wants that, or I feel that pull from different directions. And so even though I know what's the most important thing, there's still, it feels like everything is important or urgent, as you know. So sometimes what I have found is being able to talk about that, but it's not my imagination, and that you sometimes do have to go through these hard things where it feels hard to say no to this and yes to that, that's actually something we all go through.
Yes.
And being able to, so it's validating to know that the kind of mental, gymnastics that we can sometimes do in our brain as to, oh, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing this? Is actually normal. It's part of, I think it's part of what leadership is about, but actually also then talking it through and finding ways to navigate. So I've found both the strategically it's been really good, but also coping with the mental things that I need to do to achieve the strategy.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so good, Matt. And what surprised you most about the High Deep Collective?
It's an interesting question.
I've caught you off guard there, haven't I?
Look, I've got to say, the thing that surprised me it is just how much good value I've got out of it, considering how affordable it is. We know that there's lots of coaching services out there which can charge an arm and a leg, and I definitely want Sue to be able to, make money and survive. So this is not, but I do think it's. I think because it comes from your heart, Sue, of actually recognising that there are lots of good leaders and making that kind of service available in an affordable way that can still actually have extraordinary value. And so I think what I find most surprising is that sometimes you feel like a lot of these things can be hype, or they're talking you into things, but your knowledge and leadership, and from everything like very practical things like this is how you plan goals, time management, like everything from, you can jump from very practical things up to very deep emotional things that we feel there, and cover that full gamut. And I find that extraordinary to have all that in one package, but it's all practical.
Yeah. Oh, great. Oh, I appreciate that. That's so good. If someone was watching right now and they're sitting on the fence trying to figure out all of this leadership stuff on their own, what would you say to them?
I think I would simply just maybe have a little checklist of questions, which might be things like, do you feel your trajectory of enthusiasm for your work is going up? You're getting more enthusiastic, or going down? Where do you feel you're heading in that direction? Do you feel like your personal stress level is going up or going down? Do you feel like your workload, is it going up or is it going down? Because I find being clear on what I want to do and having this, it's given me an energy, even though I feel busier, it's given me an energy to tackle busier things, where there have been times when I felt less busy but less energetic. And so I think there is a real connection between feeling like you're doing the right things, knowing you're supported, having some wisdom about which are the right ways to do things. I think there is, I feel there's a positive energy that comes off that you can take to then, it's a bit of a cliche, but show up and do your best work. And if you don't feel like you're bringing that, then something like this could absolutely be maybe just what you need to invest a bit of time into yourself to unlock a few things moving forward.
That's great advice. I love what you've shared there. Anything else as we just wrap wrap up our time together, anything else that you'd love to share with our viewers out there?
No, I think the other part of this also is that you get to connect with other people who are on a similar journey. So you will get out as much as you put in. But I think it's good to be reminded of, that other people are going through this as well, and we're all dealing with difficult things. But also that there's other people have different inputs and insights into things, and so we can't all be strong in everything, but we can. But we can learn from other people who are strong in areas that we are not, and vice versa. And so being open to be part of a community that can share and swap ideas is encouraging as well. So I like the fact that this is built not just around Sue and yourself, but actually can be built around a community as well. I hope that will continue to grow in future, because I could see that being a really valuable thing.
Yeah, I do love the community aspect of it, and I love the group coaching sessions where it's not just all about me doing the coaching, but there's amazing, strategic and really powerfully good things that come out of those group coaching sessions. So from other people's inputs, from the peer kind of sounding board. I do love that. Well, Matt, I just want to thank you so much for joining me today in this little podcast. And if you're listening out there today and your current reality looks like you're carrying the weight of a giant vision by yourself, or constantly feeling misunderstood by the people around you, or maybe you feel like you're just trapped into the hustle culture of you're on that treadmill and can't get off, I want you to know that doesn't have to be your norm. The Higher Deeper Collective, we offer all that Matt has shared about today. It's a grounded, impact-driven community of peers that get where you're at and can support you in being, in discovering new leadership ideas, new leadership practices. It's a trusted high-level sounding board. It's strategic. We have daily rhythms. We have practical wisdom. It's really where the rubber hits the ground. We also have faith-integrated options for those leaders who have a faith and want to actually integrate that into their daily leadership rhythms. So reach out today. If you want to chat, you can DM me or PM me. You can give me a call. Anyway, just reach out to me and have a chat. We'll see if the Higher Deeper Collective really is a good fit for you. So thanks, Matt, today. Everyone, take a deep breath. It's Friday here in Australia where we are. So take it. If it's Friday, if you're listening in and it's Friday, just slow down. Remember, rest is your best weapon or best friend coming into the weekend, and we will catch you next time. So see you then.